So the pattern is on there. That's my coffee. I'm gonna add some tapes because I'm gonna use this glass plate to etch on. First I need to clean it, but not so big. Here my etchant is warming up. It's the only method I could think of for now. It's a huge pan of water and just a very low flame, so it's not gonna be hot. I just want it to be above ambient, in the region of 30 degrees or something. The sponge has seen better days by now. So here are the lines not so crispy. Maybe I rubbed too hard, I don't know. I wonder if this works better with some of that, or less. No, that works easier at least. Oh. Okay. No biggie. So here, some of the paint let go. Now it's not a crucial part, so this will be etched away, but it's not a track, so that's no problem, but it's not ideal. So although this works, or at least so far, here the lines are not so sharp, so it removed some of the paint. Maybe I was a bit too rough, not sure yet. Here it removed the part that should not be removed, but is no problem. Now I have to kind of connect those lines with a knife, I guess. Something scrapey. So, if it is a cleaning problem of the aluminium, I might try, and I had to look it up because I know it was some sort of sauce you could use as well in printmaking. And it is actually soy sauce or soya sauce, which is a good cleaner apparently. You can use that with some of the Comet I used to have a little bit of a rubbing effect. And it should clean aluminium really well. Might try that. I mean, why not? Doesn't hurt. It is weird, but if it works, it works. So this is not going to be a perfect print because I can see already some damaged areas, and I'm not sure why that is. Maybe I used different aluminium, maybe it's because I fucked up the program. Maybe my paint layer was not great. I wonder if it helps if you have like a primer or something. I mean, probably will burn away as well, so I don't have any primer laying around, so there we go. Oh, this is much more heavy. Alright, the etching is quite hot. It was 40 degrees already. Yeah, I think it's done already. check that with the sponge. Yep. Hard to see, we should. Well, maybe it's not done yet. No, it's not. We should be able to see through it because it's glass, so that's helpful. Yeah, now it's done. So glass plate is pretty nice. Because as you can see on the back side that it etched through. I have to put it on the tap real quick because otherwise it will keep etching. Well, that's the etch result. Again, not perfect. Missing some pieces, but not like crucial. Oh, focus. I added glue. Same for the frames. And now I have to scare off the pigeon that is in my kitchen eating my cat's food. So I'll be back when this is dry. Wah, 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 wah. So I glued them up. I did a quick test and I dislike this, and I was a bit afraid that might happen because I used etched foils before, and it has one major problem, at least with the laminates I got. It's that it's quite noisy material. And in this case, you can see here, this is the edge of the spacer. If you push it down to glue it, it creates a wrinkle in the aluminium that is also, from spacer to suspended. It creates a wrinkle and it will make noise. Very annoying, shitty noise. So I still think it is possible, but not by etching away only a track that will separate the coil from the rest. It will cost less etching this way, but it's not gonna sound very nice. And I'll show you in a minute. This is why I like plotting, because you can make a coil and then just stick it on some mylar, and it has far less resonances on its own. It's cleaner, my hands do not burn. It's not as messy. You don't have to clean all the aluminium. Well, there's loads of reasons why a plotted coil, if possible, is, for me at least, far, far nicer and less work. I mean, I made these twice, I must say, at least the etching, because I tried another foil before. This is the second foil. So it took like almost a day to make only the foils for these tweeters, and they suck. At least I've made far better than this, or I made better than this. Still not sure if it's good or bad. I mean, good enough for me. But this one performs far less First of all, at the beginning of the video, like part 1 I believe, when I made the frames, I was worried about the magnets being Chinesium and not strong for the mid-range part, and that's true. They are weak. The tweeter is like 8 dB more efficient than the mid-range. Usually this was the other way around, because the tweeter has just far less surface area and less magnets. And even in the top end, so if the mid-range plays full range, the tweeter is still more efficient. Now if I compare it to a tweeter I made years ago for the mini monitor, that one is then again 8 dB more efficient than this tweeter. That's a 16 dB difference. That's quite a lot. Or something in this region. Yeah, I used this method of connecting it, which is, well, it's more work, but it's pretty sturdy. So the wire connects it to one of those terminals, and then there's no strain on the connection to the actual foil, so that's good. Besides that, this sounds really good, but it's the edges here where it fucks up. Usually I put tape there, that helps. But in this case, I'm not sure if I can salvage it by just adding some tapes. Maybe a little. But also the efficiency difference between the crappy magnets and the N38 magnets, which is not that strong to begin with, is quite huge. The mid-range have a distance of 2 mm from magnet to foil, which in this case does not help either, because the magnets are weaker than they're supposed to be, and by moving from 1 mm to 2 mm distance, it becomes even more of a problem. So yeah, back to the drawing table, I guess. At least I know you can do this way. But I must add, I could have done this with my printer, probably much faster. But you still have to... Am I always recording when the food robot poops out food? Where was I? You can use the printer to make etch resist. It's way faster. Instead of waiting 25 minutes, it's like done in like 1 minute or less. But still, you have to etch it, and it's just a lot of crap everywhere, and your fingers smell, and then you have to remove the paint or the wax. So yes, it is cool maybe for some thingies where you want a spacing that is very tiny, maybe for a ribbon or something, which is hard to etch, of course, because you have a very long thing that you have to etch somehow. So for something like that, or a very tiny tweeter, this might actually work. But for something like this, it is, if the cutting goes well, plotting, so much nicer to plot. And it takes like 5 minutes and you got a foil, and then you just pump on Mylar on there and you're done. And if it sucks, you make a new one. Way, way, way better. And you got the choice in using thinner Mylar, which is less noisy. Downside is that I don't have any sticky tape that is 12 micron, for instance. The thinnest I got is 30. So for tweeter use, I cannot use tape. I have to use spray glue and some separate aluminium foil. That makes it a little bit more complicated, but I think still in the end it's faster than using a laser and etching away all of this and end up with a very noisy film. I can show you. So this is the thicker material, 23 micron. Yeah. This is the aluminium tape kind of thing. You hear that's a pretty different sound than And that's because the aluminium is, I believe, more of the softer version to begin with, and it's damped also by the acrylic glue that's on here. And if you put that on a piece of mylar, it's much quieter than this. So yeah, Phil, but let's take a look at the measurements and show you what I measured or how I measured it. So last thing I measured was my old push-pull tweeter, and I measured this thing just with one book as a baffle, and only on one side. So you know, it should look smoother than using no book in this case. But if we look at the measurements, it's not all that nice. So this is the measurement of the tweeter. If you look only at the response, I'll gate it. It was measured up rather close, like the same distance as this tweeter. You can see this huge peak, rising peak, especially distortion is all over the place. The mid-range performed a little bit smoother at least, but also a lot of distortion. And if you look at volume, the mid-range is, well, weaker. Rather, well, it's not ATP, but they're weaker, which usually was the other way around. And if you compare it to one of the tweeters in my mini monitors, so let's only compare the tweeters, they look like this, and that's, you know, that's how I would like to see it. Very smooth, and I'll gate that one as well. There you go. Purple, or I don't know what color my computer is taking when I take the screenshots, but the very flat one is my mini monitor tweeter, and the all over the place one is the new etched one. If you look at distortion, the tweeter that we etched, and the tweeter that I made a few years ago. So yeah, do I recommend etching a foil for a planar magnetic use? No. Maybe for some other thingies, maybe, or you have to find a correct foil that is not so noisy. Having aluminium where it's stuck to the frame, if you remove that, helps as well, because now it will make resonating sounds. I can show you real quick the resonance that is so annoying and typical of this kind of foil. You also hear it shift. If I put it on a frequency, it start up. You hear resonance and then it sort of disappears, but a very annoying sound. Not very nice. Hi Stinky. Hi Puss. So yeah, I'll wrap it up. I'm done with having dirty fingers and such. I have to come up with a way to plot like I used to and want to without it getting off the cutting mat somehow. Yeah, some things come to mind, like maybe a vacuum, but I'm not sure if that's enough. Or I need to change the design of the tweeter itself so it has more holding force where, yeah, well, where the knife is turning, because that's where it usually rips. Might have to, you know, think of something, because it's way nicer to work with. It's more consistent as well than this method. So yeah, see you around. Bye bye.